December 14th, 1799. You are 67 years old. Your throat is closing. The doctors have already bled you 4 times today, and you're still dying. Just 2 years earlier, you had been the most powerful political figure in America. You could have held on to power. You could have made yourself indispensable. Instead, you walked away. Why would a man who had just won a revolution voluntarily give up the power to rule what came next? To understand that decision, we have to go back, before the army, before the presidency, before America. Level 1. Birth.
You're born in 1732 on a tobacco farm in Westmoreland County, Virginia, a colony, not a country. There is no United States. There is only Britain and your small place inside it. Land is everything here. Land and the enslaved people forced to work it. The water you drink, the food on your table, all of it moved by hands that don't belong to the people they're attached to. It isn't presented to you as a question. It's just how the world runs. When you're 11, your father dies. Your older half-brother Lawrence becomes the path through which Mount Vernon will eventually enter your life. Your own inheritance is smaller. You will spend the next 15 years trying to build back what that death cost you.
Level 2. The Frontier.
No university. Not enough money. Instead, you learn surveying, the practical trade Virginia actually needs. Land has to be measured before it can be sold, settled, fought over. You learn something useful. Whoever controls the paperwork on land controls the land. You start acquiring claims of your own and catch the attention of Lord Fairfax, the largest landowner in Virginia. By 20, a surveyor's income isn't enough anymore. You want a commission, a rank, a name. Britain and France are about to go to war over the exact ground you've been walking.
Level 3. The First War.
Ohio country, 1754. You're 22, inexperienced, sent to tell the French to leave land both empires claim. They don't. Your men ambush a French scouting party. Men die. You retreat to a hastily built post, Fort Necessity, and surrender. Your name ends up on a French surrender document accusing you of having assassinated a French officer, wording you may not have fully understood when you signed it. You should be finished. Instead, you ride out again with Braddock's expedition. Braddock is killed. You survive and organize the retreat. You haven't won a single major battle, but every planter in Virginia now knows your name.
Level 4. Mount Vernon.
War over. You marry Martha Custis, a wealthy widow. Through her, and through Lawrence's death, you finally take possession of Mount Vernon. This is the life every ambitious Virginian wants. Your comfort depends entirely on the labor of more than 100 enslaved people. You are not an exception to the system. You are it, working exactly as designed. You could stop here. Most men would. But Britain keeps treating men like you, wealthy but still colonial, as subjects, not partners. Something in you starts shifting.
Level 5. Revolution.
Continental Congress, Philadelphia. You show up in your old militia uniform, a quiet, deliberate statement. Congress needs someone to lead an army that barely exists. They choose you. You leave Mount Vernon not knowing if you'll return as a general, a failure, or a corpse. At Boston, you find empty powder kegs, militia in farm clothes, no navy, no money. You are now responsible for turning that into an army that can beat the most powerful military on Earth.
Level 6. The Impossible War.
New York. You lose badly. Britain nearly ends the war in your first campaign as commander. Retreat across New Jersey in winter, enlistments expiring, desertion climbing. By your own private admission, the cause is close to collapse. You keep losing,
But every time the army should disappear, you somehow keep it alive.
Trenton, a desperate Christmas night crossing, a win you badly needed. Then Valley Forge, hunger, disease, brutal cold, while Baron von Steuben helps turn your army into a more disciplined fighting force. Saratoga brings France into the war. Years more of waiting, maneuvering, holding a fragile alliance together on almost nothing. Yorktown, 1781. French ships seal the bay. Your army closes in. Cornwallis surrenders. 8 years of losing, retreating, starving, waiting, rebuilding, and refusing to let the army disappear. Now, you've beaten the greatest military power on Earth. And for the first time, the question isn't whether you can win the war. It's what you'll do with the power you've won.
Level 7. The moment of victory.
The war is over. Congress is broke and can't pay its own soldiers. Your officers are angry enough that some begin discussing resistance to Congress, even the possibility of using the army's power to force the government to act. You have something almost no victorious revolutionary leader is ever given: enormous personal authority, an army loyal to you, and a government too weak to stop you if you chose to use that power.
You are indispensable. You could make that permanent. Newburgh, New York, March 1783. A room full of your own furious officers. You put on glasses to read a letter, something they've never seen you do, and say quietly that you've grown gray in their service. And now, find yourself growing blind. The room breaks. Grown men weep. The conspiracy dissolves. In December 1783, you resign your commission. Indispensable. And you resign anyway. Silence. You go home. Level 8. The first president.
The government you helped win is failing under its own weakness. In 1787, you're pulled back to Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention, mostly silent, lending it your credibility. In 1789, you're elected unanimously. No template exists for this job, so you invent it as you go. You build a cabinet from nothing and watch Hamilton and Jefferson tear at each other over what the country should even be.
Western Pennsylvania, 1794. Armed farmers, furious over a federal whiskey tax, are tarring and feathering tax collectors. Some call it treason, others call it the same principle you fought a revolution for. You personally mount a horse, the only sitting president in history to lead troops in the field, and ride out at the head of 13,000 men. The rebellion evaporates before you arrive. No battle fought, but the message lands. This government has teeth, and it will use them, even against its own citizens. You didn't just win independence. You proved the country could hold itself together. Level 9. The final years. A second term you didn't want. The Jay Treaty deepens the country's divisions. Newspapers that once worshipped you now print open attacks on your character. It wounds you more than you let on. Philadelphia, 1796. You could run again. No law forbids it. No one would stop you. You write a farewell address instead, warning against political parties, against foreign entanglements, and refuse a third term. A precedent is set that will outlast you by more than a century. The peaceful transfer of power becomes, for the first time, something America simply does. Home to Mount Vernon, back to the land, and to the enslaved workforce your fortune was still built on. You free them only in your will, after both you and Martha are gone. Level 10. Legacy. You were a surveyor who learned that land is power. A young officer who started a war by accident and lost his first battle. A planter whose comfort was built on slavery. A general who lost more than he won, but never let the army disappear. A man offered enormous power, twice, who handed it back both
times. But history doesn't leave you with a simple answer. You helped create a nation built around liberty, while owning human beings until the day you died. You helped establish limits on presidential power, while benefiting from a society built on deep inequality.
Perhaps that's the real story of George Washington. Not that he was perfect, but that at several moments, the future of a new country depended on what one powerful man chose to do with power. 1732, 1754, 1775, 1781, 1789, 1797, 1799, 1799. You were born before the United States existed. You fought to create it. You became its first president. And then, when you could have held on to power, you walked away. December 14th, 1799. The room at Mount Vernon is quiet now. Your throat is closing. But you already gave your answer. Twice. Before this moment ever arrived. Not how you gained power, but that you gave it back.
You survived this historical POV. Now, step into your next mission. Your next story is waiting.